push-ups. One way to find out is a trunk stability push-up assessment. Lay down on the ground, stretch those arms out overhead like Superman. For guys, we're going to pull down to the top of the head. Make sure they're shoulder width apart. Tuck them in, soldier. Soldier width apart. Soldier width. Bring the feet together. Tuck the toes up to the nose. Knees off the ground, elbows off the ground. And then without letting anything move, including the hands, we're going to try to do a push-up. If your shoulders come up before your back does, you fail. If your butt comes up before the rest of your body does, you like that, you failed. All right? If that's too hard, you have a weakness in your push-up. We're going to show you how to break that up this week. Now, if you stunk at that push-up assessment, partially is because your hip flexors are too tight. When your hip flexors are too tight, you can't engage your core properly. So we got to create mobility and stability at the same time. The best drill to do that, the half knee and hip flexor stretch. Drop down on one knee. Make sure 90% of the weight is on that back leg, 10% is on that front leg. We should be able to lift that foot up and down. Boom, boom, boom. If you can't stabilize yourself in this position and you feel a little wobbly, you're just going to wiggle this front leg out to the side a little bit more. Gain that balance and make sure that toe of the back foot is pointed inward. Cool? All right. Then we're going to drive that knee down into the pad as we breathe out and then tuck those hips underneath, making sure our back is nice and flat and our ribs are down simultaneously. As we go into this stretch, our goal is not to dump our hips forward and arch our lower back. That's no good. That's why your push-up stinks. We want to create that core stability and mobility through the hip flexors simultaneously. That's the half kneeling hip flexor stretch. 2 sets, 5 reps each side. Now, once we've created that mobility in the hip and our hip flexors aren't too tight, pulling our hips out of alignment, we're going to create further stability. The best way to do that is, right there, plank exercises. All right, one of our favorites is the high plank. It's a little bit more regressed version of a regular plank, and we get to train the stability of our upper body. So we're going to think about making our head and feet as far away from each other as possible, pushing our chest away from the floor, and we're just going to hold that position anywhere between 10 and 30 seconds, nice and smooth. If that feels a little bit too easy for you, you can make it a little tougher by adding a mountain climber component. Slowly tuck the knee to the chest and bring it back. Tuck the other knee to the chest and bring it back. Again, anywhere between 10 and 30 seconds. If these are still too easy for you, we're going to drop down onto our forearms. Palms are going to be up, and we're going to go into our regular plank variation. Same idea. Make the head and feet as far away from each other as possible. Push yourself away from the floor, and we're going to think about spreading the floor apart with our hands. Obviously, these are not too hard for this soldier right here. 10 to 30 seconds. Done. Now, once you've built up that stability in the core, one of the best ways to train the push-up, as it is a strength exercise as well as a technique exercise, is to make it a little bit easier. The best way to do that is to elevate the floor. Great way to do that is by doing your push-ups on a bar. So we're going to think about the same things we thought about in the plank. Head and feet stretch away from each other. Push yourself away from the bar. And as we go down into that bar position, we want to make sure the bar hits us just below the chest on the upper rib cage. And then we press back up to the top. Boom. Make sure we press away all the way. Stay long. Check yourself at the top, then come back down. If you're new to push-ups, I highly recommend doing these for small rep sets, meaning reps of 5 to 8, split up over 4 to 6 sets. That way you don't screw up any of your reps. You can really work on your technique and your strength at the same time. Well done, Jack. Now, if you're one of those people that did really well on our trunk stability assessment, then we're going to show you how to perform a perfect push-up where you have no wrist pain, no elbow pain, no shoulder pain, just getting stronger every day. So to perform the perfect push-up, we're going to drop down to perfect push-up position, which means we're going to focus on 3 things. Number 1, we are going to make our head and feet as long away from each other as possible so that we make sure we don't have any arch in our lower back. If you think about pushing your heels towards the wall and your head toward the opposing wall, you'll create that length. Make sure your core is locked in place. Number 2 is we're going to make sure we push our chest as far away from the starting position as possible so that our shoulder blades aren't collapsed, our head isn't poking forward. Okay? We're in a good, strong position so that shoulder is supported. After that, our last thing we're going to think about is moving through the elbows first. During a push-up, the shoulder blades want to glide along the rib cage through the whole movement, and they should only come together at the very bottom of the position before we press back up again. Boom. Again, come all the way to the top, fully extended. Arms and legs are out long. We're pushing away, and then we pull ourselves down in position, breaking through the elbows first. And you want to think about the elbows going down and back towards the hips on about a 45-degree angle. One more. Beautiful. Shoulder blades come together at the bottom, and then we press out at the top. Go ahead and relax. Awesome. If you do a push-up correctly, it should look like that right there. You should be pretty taxed after doing 5 smooth push-ups. If you have wrist pain, one of the best things you can do is have something to grip onto. This also works really well if you have shoulder pain by going with what's called a neutral grip. With this, the hands are facing each other, putting the shoulder in a more neutral position. And we're just going to practice those same cues, pulling ourselves down to the floor, elbows going towards the hips. You'll notice that this exercise is a lot more tricep dominant because of the position of your hands. Boom, press back up to the top. You can also change the alignment of the dumbbells. If you want it to look more like a 3/4 push-up position, you can do that as well. This is also a little bit safer, feels a little bit better on the shoulder. If you'd like to go with a straight bar across, just like a regular push-up would be with your hands, you could do that as well. Again, all of these variations are going to be a little bit safer on the shoulders and wrists. If you still feel pain in your shoulders, elbows, or hands, you're probably not doing a good job activating those lats by pulling yourself down into position, or you're just not starting in a good position to begin with where all the muscles that are needed to support you are engaged. So make yourself long, push yourself away from the floor, break at the elbows first, and make sure those shoulder blades don't collapse against each other until you hit the very bottom. If they do, use our regressive form of the push-up where you were doing them elevated to practice that sequence. That's a wrap.